You're wearing a trademark shirt today. What is trademark and how does it connect with TIACS?
Yeah, well, I guess to talk about TX, I really have to wind the clock back and talk about, TradeMutt. And, I mentioned two guys, Ed Ross and Dan Allen, a couple of residential chippies. They were working on a building site back in 2014 when they met. And Ed was actually Dan's apprentice at the time. And then in 2015, Dan got a phone call from his best mate on a Thursday in December, from his best mate saying, "Hey, I've just been accepted as a mature age apprenticeship." And he was a labourer at the time working on job sites around Brisbane. And, Dan was absolutely ecstatic. The boys were over with emotion that, their best mate had the opportunity to follow, I guess, in the footsteps as well. But then, if I wind the clock forward 3 days, Dan received a phone call that no mate wants to receive or no loved one wants to receive, and that his best mate, who was also called Dan, had taken his own life the night before. And that sort of rocks through many different emotions that go through. Whenever you lose anybody, there's lots of grief that comes with it, lots of questions. But when you lose someone to suicide, there's even more questions get asked. Why didn't I see it? What could I have done differently? Why didn't you reach out? And, Ed was Dan's apprentice at the time, but all of a sudden Ed became Dan's number one support crew through that. So they went through a whole range of emotions that you do. And then they sort of battled that out for a couple of years after, but they wanted to do something in the mental health space. And, they had this thought that, we don't want any other mate to go through what they had gone through. And they were pretty much sick of wearing khaki and blue. That was pretty much what it came down to with workwear. And they came up with this idea of, why don't we just start this workwear that's funky, it's eye-catching, and start conversations with it. And as they say, make it invisible, issue impossible to ignore when you wear one of these shirts. As you can see, it's pretty loud and bright, stands out. I get two questions when people see me wearing these shirts. One, I love the shirt, what's it all about? So it starts a conversation. The other one is, I hope they're paying you to wear that shirt. Either way, it starts the conversation around, what the purpose is of it and what's it about. And so that's how sort of TradeMutt was born, and that was born in 2018. So they've been going over for just over 5 years now. As I say, with $30,000 of cashies that they had saved up, they went out and bought 1,500 work shirts and 2 laptops. And that's how the business, or the TradeMutt business, was started. And they often reflect and went, if it had gone a different way, they were going to be stuck with 1,500 work shirts ranging from size X small to 4XL, and it would have done their careers as their weight changes through their chippy life. They would have been able to have work shirts available for them. So that's probably where the TradeMutt sort of brand started. And the key thing about TradeMutt is that they wanted to be a social enterprise. And to sort of give you a background, social enterprise business, 50% of their profits have to go to a charity in Australia. And the boys were like, okay, well, if we're going to give 50% of our profits, we need to do it in the mental health space. So we're providing starting conversations, but then we want to give it back into the mental health space and support it. And they looked at all these different mental health organisations out there. But there was something that was really missing when they lost their mate, was that there was no real support service relatable to the blue collar industry or the tradies out there that they could get access to counselling. So in true Ed and Dan form, how they go, and this is how they operate all the time. They just went, screw it. We're just going to start our own organisation, our own non-for-profit. And to put this into context, they're in their 20s when they set up TradeMutt and they set up TIACS. Ed only just recently had his 30th birthday a couple of weeks ago. And this was started in 2018. So that's how pretty much TIACS was started. They went out and just went, we're just going to do it ourselves and we're going to fund it, and started it. And TIACS stands for This is a Conversation Starter, which is on the back of all the TradeMutt shirts. And that's what it's about. It's about starting conversations.